It's a quiet autumn morning here at English Rose Cottage. The air feels crisp, the trees are turning, and the kitchen, as always, is where the day begins. Welcome to English Rose Cottage, a little kitchen tucked away in the English countryside, where everything is made from scratch, simple rhythms are celebrated, and small and everyday joys make a house feel like home. I'm Mia, a mother, homemaker, and someone who finds joy in cooking, natural living, and creating cosy spaces for family and friends. Today we're baking traditional English scones with homemade whipped cream and jam, a family biscuit recipe passed down through the generations, and pizza for friends by the fire. Stay with me as we brew the teapot, tend the log burner, and enjoy a cozy autumn day in the cottage kitchen. Good morning. It is the perfect day to get some cozy, wonderful baking done for the family. We're going to be making scones and biscuits and cracknel and some things to put in the freezer, some bread, and maybe even pizza dough too. Let's get started. I'm very excited. We love baking days. So we're going to use Mary Berry's Very Best Scones book. I have it highlighted. I love this recipe. And this is brilliant with cream and jam. We're going to probably have to whip up some cream and then and probably enjoy these for lunch even. That might be a nice treat. So let's get started on our scones. Right, we need 450 grams. 4, 5 and 0. Yeah, we'll do one. We are making some wonderfully comforting Very Best Scones. It's a Mary Berry recipe, so it's always a faithful in my book. And these are the kind of scones that just make you stop for a moment and definitely pour a second cup of tea, and remember that homemade is absolutely best. So let's dive into the recipe. So you want to get 450 grams of self-raising flour, 2 rounded teaspoons of baking powder, 75 grams of butter softened, and 50 grams of caster sugar or ordinary white sugar if you have it too. 2 large eggs and about 225 millilitres of milk. And then you also want a little extra of the egg milk mix for glazing later. So another tip is to make sure your butter is softened but not melted. This will help the texture stay lovely and flaky. So you preheat your oven to 220 degrees Celsius or 428 degrees Fahrenheit, and lightly grease 2 baking trays. Measure the flour and the baking powder into a large bowl and add the butter, and with your fingertips rub it in to the dry ingredients until you want the mixture to kind of look like fine breadcrumbs, and then you're going to stir in the sugar. Okay, then we're going to add in 50 grams of caster sugar. Now just take your time here. The rubbing in is where those lovely little pockets of butter stay intact and give you a great scone texture. So just take your time, and obviously I'm doing that with the children, so time is definitely taken. And then you want to beat the eggs lightly and then add the milk to make up around about half a pint or about 300 millilitres. Put that aside. Put about 2 tablespoons of this mixture aside for glazing later. Gradually pour the rest of the egg milk mix into the dry ingredients, stirring until you have that kind of soft dough. And you want it to be quite wet. Okay, so we want to reserve a little bit of this for glazing the scones later. So we're going to just put a little bit in there. Yeah, do you want to try it, Caleb? Turn the dough onto a lightly floured surface and pat it to about 1 to 2 centimetres thick. According to the recipe, you can use a 2-inch fluted cutter to stamp out the scones and then push straight down. Try not to twist. We were having a bit of a battle here, so we did twist a little bit, but twisting seals the edges and the rise just won't be as good. So keep gathering the scraps and patting gently and cutting until all the dough is used. And I think the tip here is less handling equals more rise. So remember, straight down equals better height, and that's just good scone etiquette. Okay, let's get the dough. I'm going to re-roll that. Do you want to do some re-rolling?
Yeah.
So you want to roll the dough out until it's about 1 centimetre thick, and then use a cookie cutter that's about 5 centimetres. I like my scones a little bit bigger. I think I've accidentally made mini ones before using this recipe, so I would just recommend going a little bit bigger. Okay, so let's press that down. Can you press that down? Let's see. Hang on, you didn't press this one down enough. You've got to press quite hard. Yeah. Can you press down on this one? Push. That's it.
Get the one.
Right, let's keep it okay. So then you're going to arrange the cut scones on the greased and warmed trays, preferably. Brush the tops with that reserved egg milk mixture for a lovely golden glaze, and bake in the preheated oven for 10 to 15 minutes until they're well risen and golden. Then just transfer to a wire rack. There is something so delicious about a scone. Also a little bit sacrilegious to not actually have clotted cream on the scone, but we only had cream to whip up, so I just whipped it up into some whipped cream. But wow, that is so good, and they're still warm too. Should we have it with a nice cup of tea? That's a good idea. Let's do it. The next thing we're going to make is something called cracknel, which is Josh's late grandmother's recipe. It's the only thing I can describe it as is a bit like a cracker or a graham cracker. This is my first time making it, but I've been meaning to make it for a while, so I thought, why not? Why not do it today? It's a great opportunity. It's really simple. It's flour, butter, a pinch of salt, an egg yolk, and then you kind of roll that out into a thin pastry. So let's give it a go. I hope I do it justice, and if not, I'll just have to keep practicing. So there's a kind of honesty in a recipe that's just been around longer than we have. I love to find recipe cards with grease spots and things like that with someone's handwriting, you know, that might lean a little to the left. It's not fancy, but it has survived. And that alone means something really powerful to me. And family recipes are that kind of quiet way that generations almost communicate with each other and talk to each other, and they aren't about nostalgia, they're about that continuity, and they remind us that before you or me or the next big food trend, somebody stood in a kitchen, figured it out and made it good enough that we're still making it today. And you don't have to live on a farm to understand that. Keeping family food traditions alive is just a form of stewardship to me, and I really, really want to do that, almost like tending a garden you didn't plant but you still get to harvest from. The recipe says to roll it out very thin, so I am working really hard to get this rolled out very thin, but I think it's going to have to be one of those that I just try with this consistency and then see if it needs to go thinner, because I'm assuming it's gonna have to be thinner than this, but... And that's why I'm trying my hand at these crackers today. It's not really about the crackers, you know, but it is about keeping the habit of making, of not letting everything become store-bought and forgettable. If we stop doing these small things, then that thread snaps. And when you cook something your grandmother once cooked, you're not kind of chasing a feeling, you're keeping a skill in circulation. You're reminding yourself that good things usually come from ordinary hands doing ordinary work again and again. So I'll mix the dough, roll it thin, and see what happens. Maybe they'll turn out, maybe they won't. But either way, the kitchen stays alive and the story keeps moving forward. Some of these are looking a little bit thick. I think I could have gone just a little bit thinner on some of them, like the middle bits, but we're going to bake them for about 15 minutes at 180 degrees until they're golden brown, and then I imagine you leave them on a wire rack to cool for quite some time so they really crisp up quite a bit. So let's see how they go. While the cracknel is baking, I thought I'd just tell you about some beautiful pieces that I've received recently from a lady called Jenny at Jenerous. Now, Jenerous is the most wonderful brand. If you have seen the red dress that I've worn in the last few videos, I wear that over and over and over and over and over again. I love that dress. I've received this beautiful top and some wonderful pieces that you'll see me wear over the next few years probably, because they're really quite Jenerous nice. Is a social enterprise working with fair trade and artisan producers. This product has been made by workers who are fairly paid and have safe working conditions. Every purchase supports charity projects. Now, I have got a discount code for you. She has been very generous at Jenerous and has given me a discount code. So if you'd like to check these out, I'll leave the website down below. I just think it's all round great brand, so just check her out. We are approaching dinner time. I think it's been a bit of a crazy afternoon, so the last thing I wanted to make today is pizza. Now, we've got some people coming over for dinner, so I'd just like to get 3 large pizzas done, and then we're going to call it quits for the day. And I'm just going to whack this in my stand mixer. I think it's the most simple way to do pizza dough, and it works every time for me, so let's go ahead with that. So pizza night is one of my favourite things to do, a little tradition in our home that's kind of stuck, and today we're making a from scratch pizza dough using dry active yeast, though I'll share how you can make it with sourdough or fresh milled flour too. In a jug, mix 1.5 cups of warm water with 1 3/4 teaspoons of sugar and 1.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast. Stir and let that sit for 5 to 10 minutes until it turns foamy, and then you know your yeast is ready and alive. In a large bowl, combine 4 1/3 cups of flour and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Add your yeast mixture and 2 tablespoons of olive oil and stir until you've got a rough dough. Knead the dough for about 8 to 10 minutes by hand, or 6 to 7 minutes in a stand mixer on low, and that's what I do. You're looking for a soft elastic dough, and it should bounce back when you press it. And let it rise for about an hour to an hour and a half until it's doubled in size. Divide it in 2 and let each piece rest for about 20 to 30 minutes. That's going to make that rolling out stage and getting it into a shape just so much easier, and it also gives you a more tender crust too. If you don't need it right away, you can wrap one ball tightly in plastic and freeze it. Honestly, make a few batches at once. It's the same effort, and future you will thank you. If you mill your own flour, you can use it here. So fresh flour has more flavour and nutrition, but it also absorbs liquid differently. So start by holding back about 1/2 cup of water, and you can always add more as needed, and let your dough rest for 15 minutes before kneading, and that gives the bran time to just hydrate a little bit more. And if you want to do this with sourdough, just skip the yeast entirely and use about 200 grams of active starter instead. And you'll need to obviously reduce the water to about 1 cup, and then let the dough rest for 4 to 6 hours at room temperature or overnight in the fridge for more flavour and more of a fermentation. And when you're ready to bake, Preheat your oven as high as it will possibly go. Stretch each dough ball into about 12 to 14 inch circle. Top it however you like. Today I'm just using simple mozzarella cheese, and bake for 7 to 12 minutes until the crust is golden and the cheese is bubbling. My favourite cheese to use is definitely mozzarella. I think cheddar just tastes a little bit off on a pizza. I like to use mozzarella and then parmesan too. And that's it. Homemade pizza dough, simple. And if you give this one a try, do let me know, and let me know how it turns out. And don't forget to subscribe for more from scratch recipes, cottage kitchen and natural living, and recipes that keep the old ways going.